Let's start in a comfortable seated position, or, if you do prefer, you're always welcome to sit and lie in Shavasana as well to get started. Wherever you're at right now, I want you to just relax. Okay, so if we are using oils today, I'm going to start with the frankincense. This helps to support the body and tissue repair and bring stability and protection when the heart is feeling vulnerable. So even if you don't have any oil, if you're choosing not to practice with oil today, I want you just to think about those thoughts of stability and protection. Really connecting to that, root chakra that really focuses on being stable and protected, that feeling of safety and security. So I want you to really connect with your legs and your hips on the mat right now. Closing into the eyes and start to connect to the breath. Just nice, easy flow of the breath. No need to manipulate it in any way. Now, the theme of today's practice is to release the old. Anything that's no longer serving us, and make space for the new. Things that are serving our higher good. But before we can receive anything, we must learn to release. In this practice, we're going to work on releasing any stuck, anxious, toxic energy, and just calm the mind so that when we step off of the mat today, we feel focused, relaxed, centered, and able to stay in the present moment. As always, while you practice today, I will hold a safe space for you, and I encourage you to do the same for each other. Even though we're not able to practice physically together, we are still all connected, energetically connected, and I want you just to remember that. So as you practice today and show up on your mat, you're encouraging others to do the same. As always, before we start the practice and begin to move, I want to encourage you to set an intention for the practice. This intention can be a reminder of the reason why you're here, what brought you here today and every week to the mat. And also maybe how you'd like to feel as we move forward from the practice into the day. Now, if you haven't already, just place the thumb and the pointer finger together and let the other 3 fingers just kind of fall away from the hand. This is called Gyan Mudra. And basically, if you're feeling stressed at all throughout the day, if you just want to put your hands in that position, it will start to trigger the body to release any anxiety and stress. So sometimes it's nice for us to have an anchor, something that kind of can just take us back into that grounding space of being on the mat. So if the day gets a little carried away and a little too crazy for you, just breathe, take the hands into Gyan Mudra, and just take yourself right back to this calming space. So to release the old and make space for the new, we're going to be digging into those hips a little bit today. As always, just remembering that our hips are usually a great center for holding on to stuck emotion. So we're just going to let that all go today. And we'll hold each posture for about 3 minutes. Many of the postures you've done before, and the whole purpose of kind of repeating some of these postures over and over and over again in a practice is to just continue to encourage the body to open more and more and more. And when you're familiar with a pose, it allows you to just relax, release, and focus the mind. So on the next big inhale, take a nice big breath in through the nose. And just a nice big sigh out the mouth. Wonderful. Before we start today, let's just roll those shoulders back and down a couple times. So up to the ears, draw them back and down. Now I want you to take your left hand off to the side and maybe a little bit behind you. Take your right arm off to the left knee. So we're just going to start with a nice gentle rotation. So sitting up nice and tall here, as if there's a string at the top of your head and you're growing tall. Just for a few breaths, drawing that breath into the belly and out. And on the next inhale, come up through the center. And as you exhale, just float to the other side. So right hand goes behind you, left hand to the right knee. Making sure that that right shoulder stays back and down as we continue to open into the chest. And on that next exhale, let's come right back to the center. So let's float into butterfly. Okay, great posture to get started with. Now with butterfly, feet are together, knees off to the side. Now I want you to adjust those feet, maybe so that they're as close as you can get them. And I want you to see how that feels. You're going to lean into it. Just allowing a few breaths here. Now, if that feels good, stay there. Then maybe take it out a little bit further. See how those feet feel there. Taking a few breaths here. And then maybe out a little further. See how that feels there. So I want you just to now take a moment to adjust to whichever posture felt the best. You know, for me, sometimes I feel a little bit better when my feet are closer, but in traditional yin practice, we would normally not bring those feet in this close. We'd more make a diamond shape. So whatever you feel, whatever feels good for your hips. Everybody's different. That's why every one of these postures is a suggestion rather than something that you're required to do. As we release the hips today, you'll notice that even throughout the day, you're going to be able to move a little bit more freely. Releasing some of that tightness and maybe even some emotion that holds you back a little bit, that prevents you from maybe feeling free and happy in your life. And as we move from posture to posture today, I want you to really continue to focus on your breath. Nice and deep inhales and exhales. Sending that breath to your hips. And encourage them to release and relax the muscles and connective tissues around the joints. As we hold these long postures, that's what we're actually digging into, is the connective tissue. That tight fascia that surrounds all the muscles, that gets really quite tight. So breathe and relax and release any of that tension with every breath. a few more seconds here in the hold. Let's get 2 or 3 more nice, big, deep breaths. And on the next inhale, slowly begin to rise up. Maybe even using the hands, draw those knees in towards the center. Hands will go behind you and just gently rock those knees side to side. Let's just loosen up those legs now a little bit. So we've really fully lengthened into those muscles and connective tissue. Now by rocking back and forth, we're just working on getting that tissue back to kind of its normal state. Good. Now from here, we're going to continue to dig into those inner thighs and we're going to go into straddle. So nice wide leg butterfly. Okay, so when you're here, I really like to set my position up here where you take the hands just kind of in the center. You lift yourself up a little bit and really focus on kind of moving yourself into the stretch as much as you can. Okay, and when you feel like you're as far as you can go, that's where you'll stay. Now, you might even find that the hands behind you feels better. So if you're finding that you're kind of rounding into that lower back and tucking that pelvis under, I'm going to encourage you to bring the hands behind you and just open from here. So opening into the chest. But if you feel like you can, you're going to come forward. Now, a couple of options for coming forward. You can take those hands in front of you and start to lean, or you can take your hands off to the side if you don't feel like you need as much support. So whatever you want to do is just perfect. So with every breath here, let's focus on sitting tall. So the goal here is to almost push those sit bones back a little bit and the top of the hips forward. That's really the position that we're looking for. So again, if you find that you're kind of the other way where the top of the hip bones are back, just bring your hips back and your focus will be to try to push the top of those hip bones forward. Breathing into those inner thighs. Feels a little bit different than butterfly. Now, it's been said that the hips are actually a place where we store the emotions around our relationships, especially linked to our romantic relationships, but also business relationships, friendships, that sort of thing. So just notice if you're hanging on to a lot of energy there, and maybe just reflect on how your relationships are right now. Are there any relationships you might need to repair? What's great about a yogic practice is that you can go into your mind and tap into that internal energy. And if there's anything you ever need to say to yourself or to someone else that you might not feel comfortable saying in the physical world, you can say it in your mind, remembering that we're all connected. And people will feel your energy from afar. Now again, while you're here, really important to keep that breath flowing into those inner thighs so that kind of really every exhale, you're just encouraging your body to invite you a little bit further. But of course, we're going to leave the ego at the door today. We're just going to push that out of it and just have compassion for yourself for wherever you're at right now. We're not trying to force ourselves into a position that we think we want to go to. We're just going to allow our bodies to go where we want to go. So especially with a morning practice, really important to pay attention to that because we're probably a little bit cooler than we would be for a night practice. So just recognize that your muscles might be a little bit more stiff in this moment and let that be absolutely okay. And just surrender, release, letting go of tension with each breath. Now on the next inhale, slowly begin to rise. Let's take those hands behind us and we'll just windshield wiper again, just a few times. Grabbing a few nice breaths. Wonderful. Then from here, let's take those legs out. Nice and straight on the mat. Now, you might want to grab the fleshy parts of the glutes and push them back so that you're really nice and grounded onto the mat. And we're going to start in this position by tensing everything up so that we can fully relax. So drawing the toes towards you, engage the quads and really push those legs into the ground. It might even bring the heels off the ground. And I want you to focus on sitting up nice and tall. So hands can go beside you, shoulders back and down, pushing into the ground. I want you to raise yourself up as tall as you can. Lots of tension. And the next inhale, draw those arms up overhead. Nice big inhale. And as you exhale, tip from the hip, surrender, release the legs, release the arms, release the back, and just let everything fall. Now, don't worry about taking your hands anywhere. Just let them fall where they're at. I like to just let my palms fall open. That way I'm always open to energy. Encourage you to do the same. Now, it might feel better for you today to keep that back a little straighter. I do encourage you to think about, as we tip from the hip, not necessarily rounding to get the chest to the legs, but we're focusing on getting the belly and the bottom of the rib cage towards the thighs. Again, whatever feels better for you, wherever you're at, release and relax. So remember, this is yoga for stress relief. So every breath you take and every time you come to your mat to practice, I want you just to really focus on that nice feeling of just being stress-free. Of course, we all have stressors in our lives, but in this present moment, there's absolutely nothing to be stressed about. I want you just to really let it all go. Don't worry about what happened today or this morning or yesterday or years past. Don't worry about what's coming today or tomorrow or years ahead. Let's focus on this moment in this posture. On the next inhale, slowly begin to rise from wherever you're at. Draw the belly button in just to support the low back. We're going to do a couple of asana postures, actually going to get a little bit of strength in here. But first of all, we're going to draw the hands behind us, shoulders back and down, and start by opening into the chest. So just arching into the back, maybe even pointing the toes. See if you can point those toes so much that they get close to the ground. Maybe even the head goes back if that feels comfortable on the neck. Now come on up, and all I want you is keep your hands there, maybe even have them a little wider, and just bring the heels in, okay? They're a hip width apart. Now you can stay and do the same one that we just did, or join me in the tabletop and lifting those hips off the ground. So this is going to lengthen up into the shoulders you might feel. Now, if the hips only come to here, that's absolutely fine. Wherever they go is perfect. Lifting those hips up, back and down. Tabletop position just for a couple of breaths. And exhale. Now you can do that one, the one we did before, or join me for this one. Legs are going to be straight. We're going to lift those hips up. Point the toes to the ground as high as you can. Just a couple of breaths. And exhale. Wonderful. So let's take the right leg and bend into that right leg. Get it nice and close. Now from here, let's take that right leg and pop it on top of the left knee. Sitting up nice and tall. You might even want to hang on to that right ankle, keeping it nice and close. Sitting tall. Leaning forward into the stretch. If and when you feel ready, our hands can go back, sitting up tall. Now, another option for this one, if you feel like your knees are okay, you can bend into that bottom knee and stack the knees right on top of each other. But just be really aware that the knees feel okay in this position. Looking to get really kind of up and high in the hips on either side. And breathe into the posture. Now rolling those shoulders back and down, really focus on leading with the chest over top of the knees or towards the toes if that bottom leg is straight. Keeping the head in line with the spine. Slowly leaning into the stretch and letting those hips go. Now in some of these openers in the hips, we can find ourselves really tightening up and engaging just as a protective mechanism. So I want you to just tune in, maybe even closing the eyes and just tune into the body. Notice where you might be carrying tension still. And I want you to breathe into that area and just encourage the body to just let it go. You know that you're being safe with the joints. The joints feel okay, just make sure that they do. And if you're in that safe position, just let the muscles relax. And remember, in Yin Yoga, not only being a physical practice, but an emotional and spiritual practice as well, the more still we can allow the body to be, the more we can listen in and tune in to what's going on in the mind. Question I love to ask myself while I'm practicing is, what do I need to know today? Just a basic question, just asking yourself that. What do I need to know today? And it's usually the first thought or word or picture that comes into your mind that's what you need. You may ask yourself that, and all of a sudden the word surrender comes in your mind. Well, maybe surrender is the word of the day, and you focus on releasing and surrendering to anything that happens today. Just take a moment to ask yourself, what do I need to know today? On that next inhale, slowly begin to rise. If that bottom leg is bent, let that one come out first. Then straighten into that leg, just shake it out. Now, before we go into the other side, we are going to go into a different posture. So I want you to swing your left leg around, so you can kind of really get there however's easier, and come up onto that the left knee, the right leg is forward. Okay, so we're going to come into winged dragon. So I want you to heel toe those feet nice and wide out to the edge of your mat. And then from here, take the hands to the inside of the mat, and you can use a pillow or a bolster. If you need to come up a little higher, that's fine. Of course, you can always come here. That's an option. Now from here, you can start to shift your knee back on the left side. Drop the toes if that feels good. I want you just to let that right knee fall open to the side. You might even come up onto the outside edge of the foot and just allow it to come as the hips sink to the ground. Holding here for a few breaths. Now, if you feel like you can and you want a deeper stretch, feel free to come down to the elbows here. I'm actually not going to push myself into there today. But if you can and you want to, by all means, go ahead and do so. Now let's keep the left arm or left hand on the ground and take the right hand up to the right knee and just slowly start to open towards that knee. So we're opening to the right. Starting to just gently push that knee out to the side, not yanking on it. Now you can either choose to stay here or you can raise that right arm up to the side, turning it more into an asana flow posture. Keeping those hips pushing towards the ground. Now this one, you'll notice you're feeling a little bit of connection with that core, helping to strengthen into that core a little bit. You can choose to stay here. You can drop your hand to the knee. You can drop your hand back down and we'll hold for just a few more breaths. Encouraging the body to just release a little bit more. Notice if there's any tension in any muscles around the hips. Shoulders will stay strong, pushing your hands away from the ears, so shoulders away from the ears. And on that next exhale, just slowly start to push those hips back. Ooh, they might feel a little bit tender since you've opened them. I want you to take your hands on either side of that leg and slowly come into a hamstring stretch. So if you want to bring your hands up to your hips, go ahead and do so. See if you can just lengthen into that leg a little bit. Stopping before the joint locks. A couple more nice big breaths in. Now release from there. We can take that, come back onto the hands and knees, and we'll just have a seat. Okay, so we're going to take that left leg in now. Okay, so we're going to go into shoelace on the other side, keeping that right leg extended first. Cross that left knee over top of the right. Now, option again is to stay here, or if you want to, bend into that bottom leg and stack the knees on top of each other. Again, listening to the body. Both sides do not have to look the same. Okay, you'll notice that often one side looks different than the other, and that's absolutely okay. Just something to be aware of and something to work on. Because of course, those imbalances over time can cause injury. So hands can be by the side or they can rest gently on the knee, whatever feels good. Slowly start to tip from the hip. Noticing that these postures often feel uncomfortable, and that's okay, right? We're teaching ourselves to be comfortable with the uncomfortable so that we can move forward into what we want to accomplish in our lives. So breathe into that little bit of an uncomfortable feeling. Of course, if it's painful, back off. Just breathe into that uncomfortable space, knowing that you're helping your body shift into a looser, relaxed, healthier version. And of course, what we do here on the mat helps us in what we do off the mat. So if we're active or play a sport or like to work out or leisure activities, you'll likely start to notice that these positions are going to help you do better in those activities. On the next inhale, slowly begin to rise. Now, if that bottom leg was bent, lean off to the side and lengthen it first. Then take that left leg off and just shake the legs out. From here, come on up to the hands and knees. It's usually a nicer way to start on this one. We'll go into winged dragon on the other side. So step forward with your left foot and then just slowly start to walk that right knee back. Then take that left foot as close to that outer edge as you can, hands to the inside of that leg. We'll start here, just setting that hip up. Now you can keep your feet kind of tucked under, or if it feels better for you, just let it relax. Either one is fine. Think about now the shoulders draw down and away from the ears. Maybe the chest comes proud, the hip drops towards the ground. Again, remember, if you want to drop to your elbows, you can. Just make sure we're not pushing too hard into the stretch. Just to where your body can and wants to go today. Focus on those breaths. So maybe just tune in and notice how this side feels as opposed to the other side. Does it feel better? Does it feel tighter? Just breathe into it. And of course, just when you're ready, and if you can, if it wants to, just let that left knee kind of fall open to the left side a little bit. Now, if you want to stay here or keep your right hand on the ground, take your left hand on the left knee and slowly start to open to the left, looking over that left shoulder. And again, stay here if you want to, or lift that left arm up to the sky, getting a little bit of rotation in the spine. Noticing now we're starting to engage the muscles, getting some strength in the core and the arm, holding just for a few breaths. On the next exhale, drop that left arm back to the floor. Focus on sinking that right hip in just a little bit more, few more breaths here. Now on the next breath, slowly start to heel toe that foot to the center a little bit, left hand on the outside, and slowly start to push your hips back. Taking a couple more breaths here, straightening into that leg. And on the next exhale, moving forward, dropping that left foot back to the ground, coming onto the hands and knees. Knees wide, toes together, coming right into child's resting pose. Allowing the head to fall. The forehead comes to the ground, holding here for just a few moments. Taking that break to surrender, release. Now on the next inhale, slowly begin to rise up onto the hands and knees. Now we're going to transition into pigeon or into figure forms, resetting the timer here. So pigeon, actually let's come into, well, no, you can go either one. So knee comes forward, the right knee comes forward into that right ankle. Or I'm going to actually do this one today. I'm going to go into figure four. So feel free to join me if you wish. You're going to lie down on the ground, cross that right ankle onto the left knee, and just grab on through either to the thigh, right underneath the left thigh, or around the knee. Of course, that's going to make it a little bit of a deeper stretch. And just allowing that right knee to stay off to the side. Feeling that nice stretch. So if you are in pigeon, just drop the head down to the ground. Allow yourself to surrender. And same in figure four. If you are finding that you can't relax your head to the ground, I'm just going to encourage you to take your feet to the ground, release your arms, and then just focus on pushing that knee away from you. So we do want to have that nice relaxation of the spine, just so there's no tension here. So finding whatever position works best for you. You start to find that you're starting to relax into it, and you want to go a little deeper. Just start to push your legs off to the left a little bit. That'll get right back into those muscles. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just slowly shift to the left. Now on the next exhale, drop that left foot to the ground, and I want you to extend that left leg all the way down, but hold that right knee in. So draw it in quite tight. And now take that right hand and draw that the right knee out to the right. So as if you're drawing it to the side and up into that armpit, keeping your left leg and left arm onto the side. If you want to go deeper, you can reach down, grab onto your big toe, come into half happy baby. So the bottom of the foot will come up. And then just really open up into that right side. So again, keep that left side strong on the ground. Now on the next inhale, release there. Now take your left hand on top of that right knee and slowly start to lift your right hip, keeping your right shoulder on the ground, coming into a slight rotation. Now with this one, we're not looking for that knee to come all the way down to the ground. You're only going to go as far as you can go so that your shoulders stay on the ground, just resting your foot either on that bottom knee or maybe it's on the floor, whatever feels good for you. The head can roll off to the right, and we release and let go into our rotation. Allowing a few more breaths here. On that next inhale, I want you to slowly bring the head and the knees back to the center. Hugging that right knee in towards the chest and then hugging that left knee in towards the chest. Gently rock side to side. We're going to shift to the other side, so go ahead and just place that right foot down to the ground, the left ankle over top of the right knee. Now you can stay here. if you want to. If this is where it feels good for the head and the spine, or if you'd like to, draw that right knee in, grabbing on around the thigh or around the knee, coming into figure 4 on this side. So feeling this deep in that hip. You'll notice that too often, if we're doing exercises or something, we often do a quick stretch, 10-second hold, 20-second hold. You feel it, but you'll notice the difference when we hold these stretches for about 3 minutes. You just should be able to notice that it really starts to release on a bit of a deeper level. Now, sometimes about a minute or so into it, though, you can feel your body start to tense. If you do, just encourage yourself and just remind yourself that it's okay, and you can just let everything relax. Continue to close into the eyes, stay connected to the breath. On the next exhale, just gently release that foot to the ground. Now keep your left leg hugged in, so just grab around that knee, straighten into that right leg. Draw that knee in and now off to the left side, so opening into that left hip. Right hand, right leg on the ground. Stay there, or if you want to go deeper, grab onto that left toe, coming into half happy baby. Bottom of the foot shines to the sky. On that next inhale, gently draw that leg in. We're going to take the right hand on the left knee now. Just want to reset the timer here. Just gently drop that left arm off to the side and the left knee off to the right. Again, we're keeping the shoulders on the ground. You can tuck that. I like to tuck the left foot underneath the right knee, whatever feels good. Arms go off to the side, head to the left, and settle into the rotation. Rotating. So good for the spine, detoxing the spine, releasing tension. And also digestive health. Digestive health. Very good for the digestion. Fine, just 3 or 4 more nice big deep breaths here. And on the next exhale, slowly start to roll the head and the knee up to the center. Hug that left knee in and the right knee in. Just gently rock back and forth. Now on the next breath, let's settle into our final posture of Shavasana. Legs go nice and wide. Feel free to put any blankets on or sweaters or put your socks on if you've taken them off. And settling into Shavasana, lying on your back. And if you are using oils, we'll go into that wild orange, just a drop of that wild orange. So wild orange or any citrus, really uplifting, great for digestion, and helps bring into more of an optimistic mindset. So wherever you're at, drop down into Shavasana, lying on the back, palms open. Taking a nice big inhale through the nose. And a sigh out the mouth. Do that one more time. Inhale through the nose. And a sigh out the mouth. Very good. I want you to feel your whole body sinking into the mat. Toes flop off to the side. Your feet and ankles feel heavy. Your calves and thighs sink into the mat. Your glutes and hips rest heavy on the mat. Your core, your chest, your shoulders, your arms just completely relax. Letting go of all remaining tension. Just basking for a few moments in this feeling of just being absolutely stress-free. Maybe while you're here, revisiting your intention, noticing how much better you feel now as opposed to the beginning of the practice, and just bask in this positive energy, this glorious relaxation. that next breath to be just a little bit deeper. Starting to wiggle the fingers and the toes. When you're ready, bring those arms overhead for a nice big morning stretch, starting to open the body, maybe even a big yawn. Yawning is such good pranayama, drawing that energy in. And hug those knees in towards the chest, gently rocking side to side. Now your choice here, either rolling off to one side or the other, or placing the hands behind the thighs and just rolling up into a seated position. So you choose whatever feels better for you. I want you to sit up into that comfortable position again, hands at heart center. Let's close into the eyes and just bow into the hands. I want you to focus on taking a really nice big breath in all the way. Keep your shoulders relaxed, belly draws out. Hold the breath at the top for just a second. And then exhale into that breath. Hold that exhale. Inhale that breath again. Hold slightly at the top and exhale. Hold the exhale. Go back to a gentle breath. And you continue to feel that feeling of relaxation throughout your day, throughout your week, until we meet again. I wish you all namaste.